Thank you, Louis, for joining, and uh, and thank you everyone for joining us today at our webinar on designing the future with AI agents. We are excited to bring, as always, some real stories, actionable insights, and try to provide guidance and not just theory overall. That's the generally our way of doing things here at Creative Bits AI. And to start off, we'll be starting off uh, with introducing Louie Celiberti, who is a seasoned business leader with comes with tons of experience, and we are so delighted to have him join our company as our mentor. He brings decades of experience in guiding companies through technology transformations, and I've had the privilege of working with him, and it's great to have you, Louis. Thank you for joining. And to start off, Louis, if you want to take our attendees with a bit about your experience and where you are, how excited you are with on starting this AI journey, and where do you think things are moving along as we, and I'll then have a few questions for you uh, that we can go over for our attendees.
Excellent. Well, Hajo, happy to be here and happy to be part of Creative Bits AI. It's a very exciting time. My career has come pretty much full circle. About 20 years ago, I started in technology in the data warehouse business intelligence space, building out risk and operations compliance data warehousing for an alternative asset firm. About 12 years in, I put it down because I was getting frustrated with the diminishing returns of on-premise tech architectures. Um, we weren't able to gain insights into unstructured documents, whether they were regulatory filings, emails, news sources, investment management agreements. We just couldn't get a full 360 view of any domain, whether it was the client, security, counterparties, whatnot. Also, we couldn't really scale to adapt to the business. It was constantly reactive, another set of requirements about reports or dashboards. And what the user had was just questions about their data. They didn't know what that question was going to be at any given time, but they just knew they were going to have questions. So at that time, I pivoted away from pure data, went into service-oriented architectures, did keep a data and domain-driven mindset, and eye on how the industry and the technology evolved. It started with the cloud, the elasticity of those resources. So I started to see how those diminishing returns on premise would slowly reverse. Then the likes of Snowflake and Databricks came about and put that elasticity in the context of pure data analysis and started to get really excited watching that. And then over the last 2 years, I saw that last mile become very promising of asking questions about the data. So 80% of your report, your data strategy can still be reports and dashboards, but that remaining 20% still needs to be extremely flexible and align with the ever-evolving business landscape. Generative AI, I see now you'll hear the term generative BI, business intelligence. And when you combine that architecture with the ability to now gain insights through natural language processing and machine learning on the unstructured data, you have this vast potential of gaining insights on any areas of your data. AI in particular also helps the governance aspect go away from being reactive to more proactive, whether it's data quality inference or it's data cataloging and data lineage to provide discoverability and increase the literacy of the end users. So a very
Thank you.
exciting time to be here.
Thank you, Louis, for that introduction. And having witnessed a part of your that journey, myself. I was fortunate to be there, and I saw how you guided companies through transformation, which was truly eye-opening because generally in a traditional business, we have that uh, constraint of making quick changes to technology, making leaps and bounds, to go to the next phase. So that's why it's a good segue. Basically, what you mentioned is exactly the part of the question that I wanted to start with. Basically, um, how would you describe this journey of yours going from a traditional business to AI, or any modern transformation? And it's not just for you, but in general, if there are people in your uh, uh, i- in the same industry as you or traditional regulated industry, how do they make the leap going from that part to the latest and greatest? Like these days, it's AI.
Oh, excellent question. So there's a couple of areas. And your point about the challenges with AI have been reflected um, in any innovation over time in the past 20, 30 years, but it's of a different flavor, of a different size. I
Mhm.
believe it starts with really removing the constrained thought process, both from an operational standpoint, that's where more of the agentic AI comes in, and then the ability to synthesize large amounts of information now at scale. So no longer thinking about where we've come from and what was holding us back, but starting with what could be the potential. Um, and with that potential, specifically with AI, you have to have an appreciation of scale, both on the opportunity standpoint as well as the risks.
Yeah.
So with agentic AI, you should start thinking about the potential to not only automate a lot of things, but be able to automate it now in context with reasoning. Um, on the on the data side, just being able to, what I mentioned earlier was being able to now have insight on vast amount of data, varying structures, varying volume, varying frequency, and velocity. But with those opportunities, obviously come risks. Um, how do you now manage and identify these risks? Some of them have been hidden or existed in the past 20 years, but are only going to be amplified now that you have, let's call it, infinite potential of consumption. Um, it starts with having a multidisciplined approach and having those multi-discipline discussions happening early on. And that's what you and I had worked on a few years ago when we were building out the data warehouse and data analytics component of the firm. Was you really have to shift left some of these disciplines. You have to bring in your data engineers, your compliance and security. With the cloud, it's very important to bring in FinOps, the financial operations, so you can get good governance on your consumption costs and bringing in legal and security. What I'm seeing and what I saw when the generative AI just started 18 months ago was I was reading legal documents that made reference to very specific technical terms like RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And that was in the context of removing data, data expulsion. So you could only imagine lawyers and counsel having to read these documents, making in-depth references to technology without having that background. So they have to bring technologists in early on. And similarly, as engineers, we have to now appreciate the risk of compliance, legal, and security much earlier on. Otherwise, we're going to develop something only to have to re-engineer it. And the third area, the last area, is around strengthening your partnerships. Traditionally, it was a build versus buy.
Yeah.
Now what you're hearing is build versus buy versus partnering. And your partnering is a slight nuance away from buying it. it's almost a blend because if you have the right partnership, you can greatly influence the direction of the roadmap, especially with these companies in the generative AI space. They're relatively young and nascent. So
Yeah.
you have a lot larger opportunity.
No, that's some very useful and fascinating insights. And I'm pretty sure they are that there are folks who are thinking progressively but just do not have the framework. So if they have to take anything out, basically is I would love your point about partnering, because even on the AI side, as we develop systems at CBAI, what we have found is that AI is uh, at the end of the day, AI is as useful as the amount of engagement, amount of obviously good data, and the leadership's visibility or vision that aligns with AI usage to uh, to make the processes more efficient, to identify those bottlenecks that used to be in the past very difficult to augment with a system. So we were going through documents, we were going through without the help of LLM, just ensuring that the expertise involved was being used in deciphering that complicated and cryptic language. But with LLM, a lot of that has been shifted left, as you were saying. But at the same time, partnering with those people, those folks, to who could serve as the SMEs, who could be the specialists to guide the AI in the right way, is very important, and that's why that build versus buy decision is not just about using a programming language and just start uh, putting stuff out, but it's also about how do you make sure that it's spitting out the right things. Otherwise, that feedback loop going into the AI system is going to make uh, AI spit out worse results than today over a period of time if we don't have that human in the loop, that review cycle. So no, great insights. Thank you for that input. Now, now you talked about the overall importance of different teams going together in an organization to move forward and make the best use of AI. Um, what about the mindset shift? What about the instead of the individuals, but at the enterprise level, what kind of mindset shift in the leadership is required on top of uh, getting the best practices for the artificial intelligence to be or Gen AI to be implemented?
Um, it's got to come from the top. The collaboration that is required now is larger than I think we've ever experienced, though we probably should have over the years, but it just wasn't part of the company culture. Um, the problems and the opportunities that AI brings are going to be bigger and faster. That's just the way this is going to work out. So upper management has to really instill that culture of interdisciplinary efforts. Combine that with pragmatic execution, where you are looking to understand what you know and appreciate what you don't know. And in order to learn more, you're going to have to execute. But you want to execute in small pieces. You made reference to it. Shorten that feedback loop. Have a There's the concept of minimal viable products. Most people align that with delivering something, which is a healthy approach, but sometimes that something is learning. Being able to have broad perspectives, executing together, learning together so they can understand how to pivot is extremely important. Also, trying to strike that balance between focusing on business value and then instilling the disciplines in short, manageable pieces. But with AI, you also need a little bit of discoverability, learning and being able to explore what potential uses can be out there, but
Hmm.
doing it in a well-governed fashion. That has to be overseen, um, governed by upper management to be able to have the culture where engineers and end users are excited about the innovation and security compliance and legal are comfortable with the governance. That's a very hard thing to strike individually from the grassroots. It
Yeah.
has to be pressed upon by upper management.
Yeah, yeah. I was taking my notes. I mean, this is really important that it's not just about the mindset. Mindset is half the battle, but it's the culture that you're building from ground up. And basically, that's true for any technology transformation. Uh, just that with AI, things are so fast. It's moving at a pace that we have never seen before. There are terms coming up every day. And I used to work with someone who basically mentioned that in the West Coast, and basically we are from East Coast, in the West Coast, uh, the term rag, for example, it came about in the regular parlance like uh, an year ago, and a year and a half ago. It's making faster and faster movement now everywhere, even in the industries where AI is not fully implemented, or there's some fear around implementing AI because of the security piece, security element of it. Uh, but still, people are getting more and more educated. We are learning that the clients that we work with or the prospects that we go to, they are talking about these technical um, terms so frequently. So that's a major shift. I think it took much longer in the previous or pre-AI world than it is taking now, especially with, I mean, it's a real transformation, not just in terms of uh, an organization or in terms of the technical uh, audience, but it's everyone in even in the management level. They are using those languages, which is refreshing. So, of course, though, if there's leadership support behind uh, adopting a new technology, um, that leads to a cultural shift. That's the best case scenario. Um, there was an example where which we came across is where the leadership invested a lot of money on the development of AI systems, but the grassroots level, they never took, users into picture, so the adoption literally failed. So we were kind of um, brought in a little late, and we kind of gave them advice on how do you redesign the system such that at the grassroots level there is buy-in from everyone. So,
Yeah,
so
excellent
great point.
point.
Yes. So now taking this further, we've talked about the leadership, we've talked about your experience and um, um, stepping into the AI world. But what about the young generation? Now, young generation is much faster at learning things, and uh, but at some point in time, they need to decide what do they need to focus on. So people who are just starting in the workforce and are confused about um, the whether AI is going to stay for a long time or not, or basically the steps that they need to take so that they are not left behind. What suggestion do you have for young generation who are stepping into this world?
Well, I think they have to embrace it. The momentum behind it is enormous.
Mhm.
The balance is embracing it without being complacent and lazy. There's a lot of complexity that generative AI abstracts.
Yeah,
Um, so they have to figure out how to use it as a tool, how to collaborate with it, um, but still be curious enough to ask why.
yeah,
Um, and one of the biggest opportunities I see is that it forces us, and this is where the young um, people have to really be excited about. it forces you to ask the right question. Because with short feedback loops, you can realize quickly that you're going down a rabbit hole because of questions you're asking. And I've learned to appreciate that getting to the right solution is not having the right solution, but it's having the right questions. So
Right.
that's a skill that we should all have. And I'm learning that I'm improving with it because of my interaction with generative AI platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call it prompt engineering. I think when all this started, they were identifying prompt engineering as a specific role. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's a specific role. I just think it's a talent and a skill that we all need to have, no different than Excel and SQL. Um, and the last part is similar to what we were saying about the cultural change. Cultivate your own empathy. Learn how to work with others of different perspectives, because in
Mm-hmm.
order to pull this off, you're going to have to lean on everybody else around you. You're going to have to understand how to build consensus, how to appreciate what motivates others, what gets them out of bed, what leaves them awake at night.
Yeah.
So having strong empathy, strong emotional intelligence is critical to success in this new world.
So that's so true, because the curiosity, the courage, and the willingness, all of them need to come together along with the soft skills. I mean, it's more and more important now. And your point about prompt engineering, basically, um, in a few, I would say, pretty soon, it should be at a point where everyone needs to become a prompt engineer. It's almost like uh, asking Google questions, right? So same way, AI needs to be asked question in a particular way so you get the right answer. And on top of that, I feel that there is um, a little bit of confusion in the younger generation where they feel like, if AI can do coding, then do I really need to learn it? And if AI can take over this role and that role, do I really need to get into it? But the truth lies in the fact that um, the if you're talking specifically, let's say about coding, uh, there is still a need to develop um, the programming skills so that you can validate what AI is producing, because uh, there is going to be a whole life cycle to AI produced code. And this vibe coding, while it's great, it really brings that delivery pretty quickly into the hands of the customers. But there's always going to be that feedback loop in terms of defects, bugs, enhancements. If you don't know what your AI has produced, there will be a lot of challenges in that future life cycles to maintain it. So that approach to uh, or the confusion around whether to learn the skill of programming or not, I think yes, you should. You need to learn maybe at a different level. It's more about being able to read it and decipher it, uh, instead of maybe taking all the times to code it. So AI will help you in documenting it for sure, but the skill set to develop that is still needed. What are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. And ironically, it only takes the curiosity of the individual. Because
Yeah.
if you look at a line of code and just simply copy and paste it, that's where you're going to get in trouble, like you said. But if you look at it and then ask the question, well, what does that mean? You simply create a prompt asking the
Yeah.
LLM, what does this mean?
Yeah.
So it will actually accelerate the learning, flatten the learning curve, accelerate uh, what your understanding can be of any domain. But it starts with having that natural curiosity and not just taking everything on face value. And that's where that blend of embracing it, but not being complacent, not being lazy, is really where people are going to succeed.
No, thank you. Thank you. And with that, I'm just doing a little time check. I know you're a busy person, Louis. So I would like to get your final notes on what's the road ahead for corporates, enterprises, small to medium businesses. What's the road ahead? How do they ensure they adopt this new technology in the right way?
Not to beat a dead horse, it's the changing culture first, right? Just get all the stakeholders, all the different disciplines, perspectives, get them together, push that from the bottom, from the top down, ensuring that culture.
Okay.
Um, then also appreciating that any efficiencies that there were over the years in system implementations are going to be magnified and amplified almost exponentially with AI. So learning that this is going to work at a bigger and a faster pace um, starts there, right? Just having that appreciation, that expectation. Um, then having adaptive governance, not oppressive, not restrictive governance, but something that actually allows the business to evolve in this ever changing world at the pace they need to. That really starts with just simply having observability and visibility. Um, Going back to partnerships, a small to medium sized firm is not going to be able to build all the governance components
Mm.
that it has to. So it should look at subject matter experts in these specific domains and figure out how to govern, how to partner with them. Look for even go as so far as having tri-party agreements. If you're working in a regulatory environment, regulators don't care if you're small to medium. They still want you to comply with their um, policies and regulations. So can you partner with a third-party AI security firm that will allow you to attest to the regulators that their policies and those procedures are being complied to? So you have a agreement between yourself, the AI platform, if you're looking to partner with an AI platform, and an AI security platform
Mm-hmm.
to be able to achieve the compliance that's going to be required. If you are large enough to develop it, look to learn about these platforms that can accelerate instilling guardrails in there, instilling role-based access in a RAG type component so that you have the appropriate controls and procedures in place. Um, and last but not least, be really literate about your data. Um, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of success out of AI is going to be based off of how well you understand, how well you optimize, how well you govern your data. There's practices around making sure you have the right pipelines, instilling that your data quality and data labeling is now proactive instead of being after the fact reactive.
Yeah.
Introduce concepts of semantic layers so that you can instill business context into your information. And we all know LLMs succeed when they have the most context.
Yeah.
And then open back to having the opportunities. Don't keep asking for requirements around reports or processes. Focus on what type of questions can we empower the users to ask. And when they're asking their questions, what their domain expertise, they will come up with the right solution as long as you're working with them across those disciplines.
That's so perfectly said, because governance and security, those are two issues that many organizations currently feel uh, are the hindrances towards adopting AI. So seek help, get the right partners involved, and it again comes back to the partnership aspect. If you don't know AI security, then go figure out who can you partner with, who can guide you. uh, Invest in getting the right people in place, right partners in place. And data, yes, ever so important, even more important than it was in the past, because now your AI relies on data. So if your data is messy, you'll get messy AI output. So that's great. And I wish, we would basically be going forward with having some of these series, some of these questions, which will keep coming up in the future, and really hope, Louis, that in the future also you'll be joining us in helping us answer these questions. And stick around with in guiding the, the folks who are attending now or in the future. So
Oh,
thank
looking
you.
forward to that, Joe. Absolutely, very excited.
Thank you so much, Louis. Have a great day, and we'll catch up
You
soon.
too. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.